So when you look at the United States at the moment, delay after delay, it seems, on the healthcare bill, just
Correct.
delaying all the other things that are on the agenda. We saw Jamie Dimon and others losing their cool perhaps a little bit at the end of last week about what Washington should be focused on.
Well, I think, first of all, on the healthcare bill, I think you had a very important statement from the CBO a couple of weeks ago saying that if the healthcare bill goes through as currently planned, there will be in excess of 20 million Americans who will lose healthcare insurance. And I think that's a huge challenge, and therefore I think the central case has to be that we will see further delays and further disruption to the process of the healthcare bill. Now, that in turn is very important because what then happens to fiscal reform? And, you know, if we go back to last November, December, investors were sort of very motivated. We had the Trump rally based on the expectation of a cut in corporation tax, the increase of $1 trillion in infrastructure expenditure, plus the plan to repatriate American corporate assets from overseas back to the States, plus reform of income tax.
Yes.
Now, all of that is delayed.
All of that is delayed, and investors' faith, if you like, in the Trump administration being tested. Is your faith in those policy areas tested then? Bob, are you pushing back your expectations for when we see any of that being delivered?
I think that's absolutely right. And the answer to your question is very simply yes. And I think we could easily be having this conversation in a year's time and waiting for fiscal reform. And in a way, it was quite interesting because that was reflected in the Fed statement, Janet Yellen's statements last week, where the Fed is now saying the expectation of growth accelerating to 3% plus is now very low. And I would think it's fair to say that if you look at the IMF forecast for this year, they're forecasting 2.1% growth. Yes, we will get a slightly better second quarter number, but for the year as a whole, in the second half of the year, growth closer to 2% rather than 3%, and part of that expectation is based on a delay in fiscal reform.